Chacon?
Present.
Director Heldman?
Present.
Director Urigi?
Here.
Director Hawkins?
Here.
Director Oscui?
Here.
Director Vasquez?
Present.
Director Camacho Rodriguez?
Here.
President Apodaca?
Here. I want to thank those directors that are here because of the holiday, and we know everybody has other things to do, but I want to thank you for being here. We're going to I'm going to call the meeting to order, and then
So I believe you want to recess, or recess the adjourned meeting, which is the one we opened. So there would be, yes.
Do we want to do the pledge and the invocation and the notices?
Oh, I
before we do
forgot.
this?
Okay. There's too many. Director Hawkins, would you lead us in the invocation, please? And Director Hillman, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Just bow your heads. Our Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for allowing us to meet like this on a regular basis. Thank you for all the blessings that you have given each one of us. And please watch over those that are trying to get here today, that you keep them safe on their way here, and all those that leave, that will be have a safe trip back home. And in Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in pledging the allegiance to the flag.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have
Good certification.
The agenda was posted.
Public comments.
We have one public comment. Manuel Serpa from Olivares, Madrigal, Levine, O'Neill. Manuel?
Good morning, directors.
Morning.
Nice to see you again. I'm here just to thank you for considering our office for the general counsel position. We're excited about this opportunity and to let you know that we'd be proud to serve as district counsel for Central Basin. We understand at this point you're considering an interim counsel position. We think that's appropriate, and we believe that we can prove our value and worth, and we'd appreciate that opportunity. Of course, I'm available, or our office is available, if in your deliberation process you have any additional questions, you need any additional information, we're happy to provide it. I understand this is an important decision, even though it's an interim basis. The district has a lot of activities going on, and we appreciate your careful and patient attention to this process of considering counsel. So thanks again, and I appreciate your time and your patience.
Thank you.
Now we,
Any other?
that's all the speakers
If
we
not,
have.
we'll go into closed session.
Yes.
Interviews.
The Brown Act prohibits the disclosure of confidential information acquired in a closed session by any person present and offers various remedies to address willful breaches of confidentiality. These include injunctive relief, disciplinary action against an employee, referral of a member of the legislative body to the grand jury. It is incumbent upon all those attending lawful closed sessions to protect the confidentiality of those discussions. Only the legislative body, acting as a body, may agree to divulge confidential closed session information as regards attorney-client privilege communications. The entire body is the holder of the privilege, and only majority vote of the entire body can authorize the waiver of the privilege. Mr. President, you're ready to go into closed session.
Legal, one question. We opened the adjourned meeting. The closed session that we're reading now is for the special.
He's recessed to the special meeting.
Okay.
So moved.
Director Chacon?
Yes.
Director Heldman?
Yes?
Director Urigi?
Yes.
Director Hawkins?
Yes.
Director Oscui?
Yes.
Director Vasquez?
Yes.
Director Camacho Rodriguez?
Yes.
President Apodaca?
Yes.
Thank you.
We're out first.
Yeah. Report out of closed session. The board met in closed session, interviewed 2 firms, no reportable action. So we should wait a second for Director Chacon to return. President Apodaca, when Director Chacon returns, the next action item will be discussion and selection of interim general counsel or report. Director, we have all of the directors present now. Good morning. With the completion of the closed session, the board has now interviewed 5 firms for the position of general counsel or interim general counsel. 5 firms include Alshire and Winder, Chronic, Moskowitz, Tiedemann, and Gerard, Nasserman, Olivares, Madruga, Lemieux, and O'Neill, and Slovak, Baer, MP, Murphy, and Pinckney. So it's now, if the board wishes to select one of those firms, at this time, a motion or discussion among the board is appropriate. Does anyone on the board want to make a motion to recommend any of the firms?
Motion to choose Slovak, Baron, MP, Murphy, and Pinckney LLP.
I second it.
Director Chacon?
What?
Wait a minute.
I couldn't hear what he said.
So the motion was to select Slovak, Barron, MP Murphy, and Pinckney.
That was the first firm interviewed today.
Director Chacon?
And that is for how long?
For 5 to 6 months.
5 to 6 months?
Yeah, ideally would be October, November, December, January, at least February, 5 months.
I'd like to do a second motion.
Is that substitute motion, sir?
What's that?
Substitute motion, sir?
Yes.
Okay.
And that would be to select the Olivares firm.
I'll second that.
Legal, just to confirm, I had already started roll call. Is it still appropriate to continue with the substitute motion?
I did not hear that the roll call had already started on the original motion.
I had called for Director Chacon, but if
Oh, okay. You should probably go back and do the
Original?
motion then.
Okay. So Director Chacon, this is for the original motion since I had already started roll call. And this was to go to select Slovak, Barron, MP, Murphy, and Pinckney.
Are you telling me that I can't make the
So
difference?
I had already started the roll call when you introduced the substitute. So we would just go through the first motion, and if that doesn't pass, we'll then go to the substitute motion.
I'm not ready to make my decision yet.
Okay. Director Heldman?
Yes.
Director Origi?
Yes.
Director Hawkins?
I will abstain.
Okay. Director Oscui?
Yes.
Director Vasquez?
No?
Director Camacho Rodriguez?
I'm an abstain.
President Apodaca?
Yes.
Motion does not pass. Now we go on to the substitute motion to vote for Olivares, Madruga, Lemieux, and O'Neill. And this would be for a period of 5 months, the interim?
Yes.
Okay. It was seconded by Director Vasquez. Director Chacon?
Yes.
Director Heldman,
Yes.
Director Origi,
Yes.
Director Hawkins,
Yes.
Director Oscui,
No.
Director Vasquez,
Yes.
Director Camacho Rodriguez,
Yes.
President Apodaca.
No.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next item. The next item would be a report out from the ad hoc committee that met yesterday on the MOU between Central Basin MWD and participating retail agencies providing for retail meter charge with a sunset provision of a guest investigation into partial charge or other alternatives to the meter charge, appointment of a joint working group to achieve long-term financial stability for Central Basin, and approval of tolling by participating member agencies against the retail meter charge. Would any member of the ad hoc committee, the ad hoc committee consisted of Director Hawkins, Director Camacho Rodriguez, Director Oscui, and Director Origi. So if any of the members of the committee would like to speak?
I'd like to make a comment just for the sake of our constituents. If we could go down the whereas so that our community understands each item that's put forward that we're going to vote on,
If you'd like, I'll read each one of them.
please.
Okay. The recitals, whereas Central Basin Municipal Water District, Central Basin or District, established in 1952, supplies a reliable source of water to approximately 1.7 million residents through 24 cities and unincorporated areas of southeast Los Angeles County, within an area having approximately 39 water purveyors that serve retail water to its customers, the purveyors. Central Basin of purveyors may be referred to as party or parties. See attachment A for list of the purveyors. That's the first whereas. Second whereas as a member agency of the Metropolitan Water District of Southern California, Central Basin relies on imported water from the Metropolitan Water District of Southern California, and whereas Central Basin purchases treated recycled water from the sanitation districts of Los Angeles County for distribution to its retail agencies, and whereas pursuant to Water Code sections 71614 and 71616, Central Basin is authorized to establish water rates and charges for water, which will result in revenue sufficient to meet the operating expenses of the district, provide for repairs and depreciation of works, provide a reasonable income for funding of improvements, extensions, and enlargements, and cover principal and interest payments and costs associated with bonded debt. And whereas the district has reduced expenditure levels by over $2 million in the last 3 years by elimination of programs and reduction in number of employees. And whereas the district proposes a charge to be imposed upon each retail water meter within the district's boundaries, parentheses, the meter charge, as a part of its budget, but receive written and oral objections to the proposed meter charge, including legal analysis that asserts that such charge was an illegal tax under Prop 26. And whereas there continues to be a need for increasing Central Basin's financial stability, and whereas while the objecting purveyors have expressed support for the district's operation, they expressed objections to the district imposing the meter charge, which they assert is subject to legal challenge. Whereas on July 10th, 2019, Central Basin adopted the budget and rates, including a $2 meter charge. And whereas Central Basin desires to work cooperatively with its purveyors to develop a plan for its long-term financial stability, and whereas Central Basin currently is conducting polling on implementation of a partial charge which would replace the meter charge, whereas implementation of the meter charge will take 3 to 5 years, now therefore the district and the purveyors wish to enter a member of understanding MOU. So that's the, do you want me to read the whole thing or just that part of it?
No, please.
Okay.
Well, also, I haven't had an opportunity to read this document, so I would like to recess after, I guess, you finish reading whatever you're going to read.
Yeah, okay. How long would you like, Director?
Well, you can proceed.
Okay.
But I would like to definitely
Recess. Okay.
recess to read. But prior to recess, also have some questions about this.
Good.
Director Vasquez, I know you want to look at this thing, and I'm all in favor. Is there any way we can pull this thing for a later meeting? Because I got to leave by 12. Is that okay with you,
Sure, that's a motion.
Mr. President?
So I'll go ahead and make a motion then to defer action on this item for a future date so that we have enough time to review the item, seek legal advice from our new attorneys around this issue, and
Our new attorneys won't be under contract until October, but I can get legal advice from them.
yeah, I'm just not prepared to make a decision on this, and I don't, half an hour, if Director Chacon is going to have to leave, maybe we can just proceed with the next 15 minutes with a presentation about this, and then we can defer action on.
Okay.
Mr. President, may I? Can we have comments from the ad hoc committee on their position and what they're able to get to prior to any decision or vote?
Why don't...
Any of the ad hoc committee members prepared and willing to make a comment on whether they support it and what kind of work they've done?
I'll start first. So my concern with not having the rest of our board be brought up to date with this document or having legal advice as to whether or not we should give up or waive our rights is an issue for me and a concern for my constituents who may not understand what it means. As we are representing them, we have 1.6 million people we represent. And for us to vote to waive a right, I would like that to be clearly explained on why a representative of Central Basin would be willing to waive a right in this agreement.
Okay, and you'd like that in the agreement, ma'am, or just separate?
No, my concern is that wording is in our document and that myself, sitting with the other directors, would decide to vote to waive our rights for Central Basin. So as a representative of Central Basin, my concern for Central Basin is that if we waived our rights, how would that positively or negatively affect us legally? And so a lot of the legal wording in this document needs to be clarified in English so people understand when we waive our rights, what exactly does that mean? Is that in our favor or not in our favor? And so to give us a sheet of definitions is not a legal response. And so I would appreciate it if we were to dialogue that so that our constituents understand what that means.
Okay, so I'm trying to paraphrase what you'd like a written paper in layman's terms that explains what it means to waive your rights in this tolling agreement.
I would like it to say whether it's a good thing for us as Central Basin to waive our rights or not.
Yes, and a good thing, and it's also what are the risks and what are the rewards. Okay. So but you want that in layman's terms as a written document.
Right, because in this memo of understanding, we're not asking the people that we're entering into this agreement with to waive their rights. And so I'm wondering why any director on our board would be so willing to waive our rights.
Okay, and again, do you want this in writing, or do you want an oral from the attorney now, or what would you like?
Well, I think it would be best in writing so that our constituents have a factual piece of paper that actually stated why it would have been a good thing to waive our right or not.
Okay, then we'll do that and is there any other comments?
Mr. President, if I may, just to clarify, the ad hoc committee met yesterday, went through their documents, and in a very deliberate manner, line by line, the document was examined. There was some recommended language that was redlined and incorporated into the copy, I believe, that we have before us. Director Camacho Rodriguez, is there a particular section that you're referring to? So if we have to do some work on it, we know exactly where it is.
So on page 3, we're looking at tolling of claims. And I did mention this in our conversation yesterday with our group. So if you go to item B, for tolling of claims, in exchange for the purveyor's offer and agreement of the described above, district agrees that any right to file or otherwise initiate a legal claim or challenge to the imposition of the retail meter charge shall be tolled as a provision in this MOU. The district hereby waives the right to assert any defenses of statute of limitations, latches, or similar provisions until June 30, 2020, or until any earlier time as any purveyor who gives written notice that it intends to take legal action, and the tolling shall continue for 30 days following such notification. The district may itself terminate the tolling agreement described herein by repealing this MOU and thereby shortening the tolling period, provided it first gives Brown Act compliant published and posted notice of at least 72 hours in writing of its intention to take such action. Provided further that no such repeal may occur unless the action is first presented to the ad hoc at the ad hoc meeting. Any purveyor may file or initiate a legal challenge to the imposition of the retail meter charge within 30 days after the district gives such written notice. However, tolling shall continue for any purveyor not giving such notice so long as the MOU is not repealed. So for all this language, it would be nice to have clear description to our public of what exactly it is that we're doing.
Mr. Palmer, do you believe that you folks can do that over the next couple of days?
We can do that. What's happening, Director Camacho Rodriguez, is the waiver by the district is in exchange for a waiver, actually, although it's not so stated here, of any purveyor who's waiving the right to file a lawsuit within the original period of time.
Which is 90 days.
So while it doesn't express that, that's what this whole document does.
Well, then we should state that. This is a public document for our constituents that we represent. We represent 1.6 million people, and although the majority of us who do speak, read, and write English can read this, but I think our community needs to have that explicitly stated, that is what we're doing.
Well, that's really what the beginning part of this is referring to. It says, in exchange for. Okay, so it's in exchange for that, the district is giving up the right to use those defenses during that period of time.
Yeah, Mr. Palmer, we'll write it out in layman terms, point by point, if that will help us.
And what is the exchange?
Yeah, what is the exchange? We'll clarify it with a paper. Is there anything else then?
Where did this document come from?
It was
Who drafted this document?
the committee yesterday drafted it.
So the committee drafted this precise document, like all of the verbiage in here?
No, the original verbiage was taken after the first committee meeting when the board gave direction to have the ad hoc committee come up with a memorandum of understanding. I met with our CFO, we went through some stuff, we crafted an MOU, and then it was redlined yesterday.
So we crafted an MOU? So did Central Basin
Yeah, we crafted
craft this
Yes,
MOU?
Yes. Using language from the original document.
Where did the original document come from?
Mr. Alshire. He
Okay.
wrote the original
So this is, okay,
resolution.
So all of the information that's contained here is coming from Alshire and Widener, who is the attorney for the city of Signal Hill.
No, not all the information. The basic outline was what they had in their resolution. We took that to put in a memorandum of understanding and changed it around to be more.
Okay, so let's go
central
point
basin
by
focused.
point here, because I want to understand what Central Basin directors included in this MOU and what Alshire on behalf of the purveyors included in here.
Alshire what we did was take his original document, and we can get you a red line, that's probably the easiest thing to do. You get to the original document, which was called a resolution. That was the one that went before the board. The board said, change it into an MOU, and frankly, make it more Central Basin focused. And so that's what we tried to do, while keeping the bones of what they had. We wrote in things that, and we're some of the stuff we thought was unnecessary. We could simplify it and tone it down. Again, the 4 directors all had input in it yesterday, significant, and
Okay. So for example, it says Central Basin and its participating purveyors jointly agree. Number 1, the current $2 meter charge will be fixed for 3 years. Is that something that the committee proposed?
that was in the original agreement.
I'm
It
asking
was-
the committee.
Okay.
Is that your proposal?
Yeah.
Who,
Yes.
yeah, who serves on the committee again? Mr.
Myself.
Hawkins, Origi? Okay. Okay, so that's the recommendation of the committee?
That was already
We didn't
stated
discuss
in
the dollar
the
price,
original
because
document.
It
So-
had seemed like that was already agreed upon, so we
Yeah.
went into the language part.
Okay. And it says here that the central base number 2 is that the current meter charge will sunset June 30th, 2022, unless otherwise extended by mutual agreement. Is that something that all of the committee members agreed to?
That was already stated.
Yeah, okay. Central Basin MWD and its participating purveyors agree to form an ad hoc committee on fiscal sustainability. The committee will consist of 2 elected directors, 2 appointed directors, 4 representatives from the 24 cities, 1 representative from the mutual water companies, and 1 selected by the Central Basin Water Association. That's something that the committee all agreed to?
We had a lot of discussion on that one.
There was some hesitance.
Yeah, the numbers seem a little skewed with representation from Central Basin side as opposed to, maybe we should add an F for community, the public, since we represent the public.
Okay. And it says here that the ad hoc committee will work cooperatively over a period of approximately 6 months upon final completion of the MOU and review long-term projections for water sales, revenue and district costs, identify potential cost-saving opportunities, identify new sources of revenue, identify potential uses of windfall revenue, and agree to a long-term financial plan. Isn't that something that this board has already done?
In what sense?
Well, we did long-term financial planning.
Yes, and
Further out. Long-term going forward, not
Okay.
long-term going backward.
We've done backwards planning? I mean, I don't remember
I don't
like
wanna answer
planning
that question.
backwards. Yeah, I remember planning forward, and that's one of the reasons why we created the lockbox, one of the reasons why we refinanced our bonds, one of the reasons why we laid off so many employees. I believe that's forward planning.
Clarify, my statement was facetious. I meant that we need to look planning forward for the district as to how the district is going to be sufficient, how it's going to sustain itself based on commodity that we sell, based on a fixed charge, based on windfall. We have to take all the parameters of revenue that the district has and plan going forward how this district is going to sustain itself going forward.
now the director is correct, that we believe we have a plan. That was in our rate study. We have a 5-year financial plan. This is an opportunity to sit down and work cooperatively with the retail agencies, dive into the details of the plan, explain it to them, see what input they have, any suggestions they have. We did not address in the plan how we deal with potential windfall commodities. The plan always changes. They would say any plan of war doesn't survive first contact with the enemy. Any financial plan doesn't solve your first month of expenditure. So we do have things that we can anticipate that'll be changing. And so there's stuff to be studied and explained so that everybody's on the same boat. Ideally, at the end of when we get through the process, they all agree, you guys have done the right thing, you need the fixed charge, or you need the parcel charge. But
Right, I mean,
But this is to explain it so they understand it. Have
Okay,
we
because
done it? Yes.
I'm of the opinion that that's what the function of this board is, to do the financial, long-term financial planning, to look at new sources of revenue. These are all, and while I believe the ad hoc committee can be very helpful, I strongly feel that that's the role of this board, and that we are not carrying out our duties as board members if we're giving this duty up to some ad hoc committee that, it obviously can be
Director,
very
it's an excellent
useful,
point. Yeah.
can be very useful in its advisory form, but this board is the board that was elected both by the purveyors, appointed by the purveyors, and elected by the citizens of this district to make long-term financial decisions about it.
Director, you're correct, but we're not
So-
giving up any. If you go to item 8 at the end of the thing, it says, "The district retains its ultimate authority to adopt its own budget without approval by the ad hoc committee or the purveyors." So this is a way to work together, get mutual understanding, but the ultimate authority resides and always will reside with the board of directors.
Yeah, Kevin, I have worked, the past, 7 years on this board with the purveyor community to move this agency forward. When I first came on board, we eliminated our engineering consultants. We eliminated our federal lobbyists. We eliminated our state lobbyists. We actually laid off to date, we've laid off about between 7 and 9 individuals. We have made a significant amount of cuts at this agency. And I am of the belief that we have an obligation to our ratepayers to run this agency and deliver the services that it was originally founded to deliver. And while I understand that we have some fiscal, challenges, I also believe that, like many other water agencies in the region, they have taken steps to close the gap in their budgets by increasing water rates, and this board moved to do that with the support of the purveyors, which it committed to doing. And so while I support continuing to work collaboratively with the purveyor community to address, the issues that we have, I also support the continued functioning of this agency in the form that it is in now. So you came up with this proposal of passing a meter charge, Mr. Hunt. Originally, your proposal was that the meter charge be $4.68. The purveyor community was not supportive of that effort, and that meter charge went down to $2, and we had to make further cuts in order to ensure that that $2 increase was going to be sufficient for us to cover the finances to cover basically our expenses. So you also informed us that the process that we went through to impose that meter charge was a process that was legal. And what leaves me concerned is that if in fact your recommendation that this process was legal, our attorney's recommendation that this process is legal, why would we then give our purveyors an additional time to file a lawsuit against this agency if, according to you all, there is no law? So why is this even necessary?
Okay, and we also got an independent legal opinion that the process was lawful. So we have not only our regular attorneys, we had an independent one. It's a process that's been used before. I'm very confident that it'll sustain the challenge. That doesn't mean that the other side agrees. And so what we're trying to do is avoid a lawsuit. The board also has the option to say, bring it on, we'll file your lawsuit and we'll fight it. That's the board's option. You can either try and work cooperatively to solve the issue over a period of time, or you can say, let's litigate it and get it done once and for all, and then we'll figure
Mr.
it
Hunt,
out.
for me, I believe that this board has bent over backwards to work with the purveyor community, including changing the composition of this board. I believe that the purveyors have their representatives on this board that can be a voice for them in this process. In fact, if I recall correctly, the purveyors were the ones that voted on this meter charge, yet the purveyor community is are the same individuals that voted for this meter charge are now threatening to sue us. And that, to me, doesn't make any sense. And it doesn't add to the spirit of cooperation that, in my opinion, this board has worked in for the past 6 to 7 years. So I hope that we can work through this issue with all of our purveyors, and I certainly give my commitment to doing that. But personally, I think that this is an effort on the side of the purveyors to tank this agency, to make it go under so that it will no longer exist. And I believe that that's financially, it's irresponsible, and I hope that that's not the case, but everything from giving away our assets to not being willing to pay a minimum meter charge that, in my opinion, the purveyors get more from the services that we actually deliver to them than they're actually going to pay into through this minimal $2 meter charge. So,
And I want to add further that this is not a political statement. Anytime we put pen to paper, it becomes a legal document and it's binding. And so anytime that we're going to waive our protections, that is not in our benefit. And I'm not sitting here to make deals with purveyors who want us to show good faith on something that we're not doing that is illegal. And so it's real important for our constituents to understand what goes on, whether it's behind closed doors or out on the days, that we are being transparent in protecting Central Basin, who represents 1.6 million people in our community. And so this is not a political statement. This is a legal binding document that once we vote to agree to any of the language here, we're bound by that. And so nothing that I have voted for to date, including our budget and our rate increase, is illegal. That's not illegal. And to have the purveyors to keep strong-arming us into what they think is the better meant for them, that's not what we're doing on our board. We're representing Central Basin's community, not purveyors. We have to work with the purveyors, like I think in any form of business, we have to get along and work to get along, but to put things on paper that our board would vote, and then we continue to add to the narrative that our board makes bad decisions, that's not something that I want to take lightly. And we need to continue to work as a group for the people we represent.
Mr. President, you notice that I followed the procedure and asked for your permission to speak.
Yes.
May I ask this board, when did the purveyors vote for the $2 charge? Can someone tell me that? When did the purveyors vote for the $2 charge? What was the instrument? What was the option? When did the purveyors vote for the $2? Subject to check, I believe it was this board that adopted the $2 meter charge, not the purveyors. The purveyors got you down to $2, but the final decision to implement the $2 was the decision of this board. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, now,
I didn't vote for it. I voted against it.
The majority of the board took action to implement a $2 meter charge that is in your resolution. You have a copy of the resolution? Have you seen the resolution? It's signed.
I have seen it, sir,
Okay,
but the
and it was-
majority of this board is not threatening to sue itself. It's the purveyor
The
community
question, Madam,
that
was-
has threatened to
question
sue.
was, You stated that the purveyors voted for $2.
That's because the purveyors are threatening to sue
Did the
Central Basin.
purveyors vote for the $2?
Yes, the purveyors
They did not. It was this board.
Excuse me, I
that
believe
voted
she
for
mentioned,
$2.
I believe
The
you're alluding to
representatives.
the purveyors on the board.
We have have an 8-member
didn't
board
say
of
that.
directors.
Understand.
We have an 8-member board of directors, and we have 3 representatives that are appointed by the Prevera community. They're voted upon by the Prevera community. And so those 3 appointed directors that serve at the will of the Prevera community voted for the $2 meter charge. So that was my point. And that same purveyor community is the same purveyor community who serves, I guess, as an advisory board to the purveyors that are appointed to this board are threatening to sue the Central Basin. So that, again, just speaks to the inherent conflict that we see on this board time and time again. And so I have asked that we seek an opinion from the Attorney General about whether or not the purveyors that are serving on this board are here legally because of this continued inherent conflict that we have.
Are you saying, Madam Director, that I am different from you as far as a director on this basin? Is that what I'm hearing from you?
Actually, sir, we are very different, and I'm elected by the residents of this board. I'm required to be a resident of this district. I'm required to attend at least 10 meetings
I don't challenge
a
that,
month in
Madam.
this community.
I don't challenge that.
So we are very different, and I believe that we represent different constituents. Whenever I'm going to take a vote on this board, I confer with the residents and voters of this district, and I look out for them.
As well you should,
I
Madam.
don't convene private meetings with the purveyor community to seek their advice on how I should vote on this board. Also, this is a public agency, and our public agency is formed to serve the public, not to serve our shareholders,
our customers pay the bill.
who are making a profit from the industry. So we are
Treats everybody with a broad brush.
not everybody,
Thank you.
not everybody,
Okay.
right.
Directors, we had agreed, I think, that we were going to have,
But you're asking me what the difference is, and I'm just laying out
I'm just questioning
what
if
the
I'm
differences
different.
are. Yes,
Okay.
sir, you are different.
okay, I think.
We are
Now I
different.
know where I stand. Thank you,
Yeah.
We
Madam.
we talked earlier today about possibly having a workshop to discuss any potential, and get once and for all daylight and see whether there's any conflicts. There's a state law that's been passed that we're trying to implement. Obviously, there'll be tensions with it. They surfaced there. I think it'd be good to get an Attorney General opinion, to put it to bed once and for all, and to also have an open discussion so that all of these questions are answered once and it's done. Director Chacon has to leave at this time. I believe a couple others directors. We had a member of the public that wished to speak on this. Ms. Wesa, would you please? Want me to take your picture?
Bill, I just want to confirm, Director Chacon had made a second. Is there a conflict with him having to leave? He made a second for the motion that's on the floor. Does he have to be present before he leaves the meeting?
Sorry, what's the motion that's on the floor?
Didn't that vote
It was to
occur
defer
already?
action to a future date, but we do have a
Okay.
public comment, so that would need to be taken first before action is
Wait,
taken.
okay.
I'll wait.
Okay.
My name is Sarah Patricia Wesso. I am a community member of Paramount. I'm also part of Social Eco Education. It's been a while since I've been here, but it's definitely never a dull moment, to say the least. And do not take it wrong, but I kind of feel like some of you guys might need some anger management classes. Hey, I gotta be honest. I wanna also thank some of our representatives for taking into account what the community members might think of you guys waiving our rights. I find it interesting that some of, like Mr. Oskui, Mr. Haleman, and Mr. Origi are actually here because of the purveyors. Now, my question to you is this: whose interest are you really looking out for? Are you really looking out for the constituents' interest, or are you looking out for your agency's bottom dollar? Because there's people in Paramount that have posted pictures on social media recently where they're filling up a fresh bowl of water for their dogs, and that water looks like poo. there's also pictures on social media where somebody poured water into an ice cube tray, froze it, and those ice cubes look yellow. So I ask myself, what are you guys going to do about that? If you guys are making a profit by charging us for that water, why isn't that water clean? Poor-colored water is ridiculous to me. Water is not a privilege. Water should be a right for everybody. And at least I know most of the members here were voted in by their constituents. But that makes me wonder, why are you guys really sitting here? Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe we lost the president, but we have a motion on the floor by Director Chacon. And
Second?
So it was actually made by Director Vasquez, seconded by Director
Okay.
Chacon to defer action to a future date to have time to review and seek legal opinion on the MOU. Director Chacon?
Yes.
Director Heldman?
Yes.
Director Origi?
Yes.
Director Hawkins?
Yes.
Director Oscui? Director Vasquez?
Yes?
Director Camacho Rodriguez?
Yes.
President Apodaca? Motion passes.
now we go back to the,
Actually, I need clarification on item number 4. We did not get an effective date for the interim,
That would be after the contract.
October 1.
in place.
October 1st.
Actually, it was
I thought we were making a decision today.
today, right.
it's-
So let's go ahead and reconsider that item. I'd like to reconsider, I'd like to open it, make a motion to reconsider that item so that we can give more specificity on the direction that the board was interested in. So I'd like to go ahead and make the motion to reconsider
And I'll
item number
second.
4.
Director Chacon?
Yes.
Director Heldman?
Can you please repeat the motion?
This is to reconsider item number 4.
the selection of the council?
To begin when? I mean, are we waiting until the end of September?
Our current contract,
Immediate?
normally the way
Well,
it's
we're
done.
we're gonna have that discussion
Yeah.
once we reconsider it.
Okay,
So we're reconsidering a start date for the,
We're reconsidering a motion, sir.
the whole selection?
Yeah. We're reconsidering the motion, sir.
For item number 4.
Yes, for item number 4. Ma'am,
So they're,
yes.
okay.
So the motion was to reconsider the item.
Could you specify what the
Yes, I do have a
consideration is going
second.
to be so that we know what we're voting on
So this is simply to reconsider item number 4.
as far as the choice of the attorney?
No,
That's
not
what
the
we-
choice.
Well, then be
No.
specific as to what you want the motion on,
Is it the
please.
effective date?
Well, the first thing you have to do is you have to request for reconsideration before you have a discussion about what
What
you're
is the
asking to
item
be
you wish to
reconsidered.
reconsider?
All of this was
I'm
addressed in our
requesting-
proposals.
I'm requesting that the item be reconsidered, item number 4 be reconsidered.
Okay, and your second was Director Chacon, so
Yes.
Director Chacon, you said yes. Director Heldman?
no.
Director Origi?
No?
Director Hawkins?
Yes.
Director Oscui? Director Vasquez?
Yes.
Director Camacho Rodriguez?
Yes.
President Apodaca? He's absent. So we have 4-2.
Motion fails.
We have the legal, we currently have 4 ayes, 3 noes. 2 noes, I'm sorry, and 2 absent.
It requires 5 to pass it on.
Excuse me, we have
Have the
actually...
attorney please tell you, how many people does it take
Takes
to...
5 to pass any motion.
Sir, we have 2 people that are absent,
It
so...
takes 5, Director Vasquez, to pass the motion.
So the motion fails.
It's been that way ever since the board's been
Now,
existing.
separately, is
Sir,
it...
your failure to properly represent this agency the entire time you have been here is the reason why you were not selected to continue your service here.
Thank you very much for
Director.
your vote of confidence, Director.
Okay. Is the idea to get the attorney in faster? Because the contract, just so you
When
understand...
Mr. Chacon made the motion, it was
Yeah.
for immediate transition.
Okay.
That's
And we
what
have-
he...
There's a process, we have cases underway and stuff. Normally, you have an orderly transition between them. We now have to negotiate a contract and sign it and check all the insurance and that with the attorney. Then we go through the process. It takes about a month. They would be on board by the 1st of October. That's the normal
Okay.
process.
I thought, once we took this vote, they were gonna come on immediately, and that's what I thought I was voting on. So, I mean,
In the proposal, that spelled that out, okay.
my thing is, you know, there's new things that start today. I figured they were coming in, they were gonna work on those things, and then Nossaman can finish what they're doing to the end of September.
And what we will do, I'll come back to the board in a couple of weeks when I meet with Olivares Madrugas. We go through all the work we're doing, what we can transition quickly. We'll come back with something, but it takes, you have to do an orderly process, so.
So the transition will begin immediately, and Olivares Madruga will start September 1st.
No, they
I'm sorry,
start
October
October 1st. October 1st. Okay,
Okay,
okay.
so,
Yeah, I would recommend that the board adjourn rather than go back to the detail because we've lost 3 of our directors.
So moved?
Second.
I'm sorry. What are we voting on?
To adjourn.
To adjourn the meeting? Okay. That'll be Director Chacon?
yes.
Director Heldman?
Yes.
Director Rigi?
Yes.
Director Hawkins?
Yes.
Director Oscui? Director Vasquez?
Yes.
Director Camacho Rodriguez?
Yes.
President Apodaca? Motion passes.